Hi, how are you? Tuck and Patty, there you are.
Hi.
There we are. Hi. Hey. Hi, Stacy.
Hi, I'm so glad to see you. I love you guys so much, and I'm just so honored that you're doing this for Living Jazz. So, we're going to thank you in advance. And I have some really wonderful questions that I want to get us going on so we can start this conversation. So, let's start with a quick version on how the two of you met.
Hey,
Okay. Well, I was a member of a band. This was 1978. So we're coming on 43 years. No, we're already at 43 years.
43 years.
Yeah. 1978, I was a member of a band in San Francisco. And what I always think of as the ill-fated band, one of many. And Patty came to audition one day. And during the first 10 seconds that we played together, we both knew that we'd found a lifetime collaborator. It's not like we said that at the time to one another, but it turned out that we each went home and told somebody else exactly that. We found our musical soulmate.
It's good. August the 31st,
That's right.
1978.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about what you were doing musically before that and what you knew when you met one another. What was it that about how each other sounded or what you felt about each other's music or just each other?
Well, I was playing in a lot of different kinds of bands, top 40 bands, hey, Amy, top 40 bands, um, original rock bands, blues bands, you name it. All kinds of stuff, sort of experimental stuff, fusion groups. And I was just a, musician trying to make a living, working temp jobs. I could be a secretary, so I'd do that and get temporary jobs and going up and down the Bay Area, working with a lot of different groups. And I just hadn't found the thing that I could call mine. And I think musicians, like when you meet people, even if you're not really thinking about serious relationship, but if you're in the mood to meet somebody or you want to date, it's kind of like a radar is always kind of like going. And I think the same thing was for music goes for musicians when we're looking for that thing that we know, sort of compatriots to play together with, that we are in simpatico. And so that radar is always going. And on that day, at that audition, on a completely rare song, it was just so random, and conned it off the tune, and I just heard this guitar. I always loved guitar more than piano. I love piano, but guitar was my thing. And so when I heard that guitar, I was like, oh my God, who is that? I'd heard about Chuck, but we'd never met. And it just was one of those things. It was like, I think I just found somebody who's on the same wavelength musically as me.
Yeah, and Tuck, was that the same kind of experience for you?
Yeah, it was exactly the same experience for me. Really, what seems like against the odds. It had never happened to me before that I'd had that kind of conviction upon first meeting somebody that we were just utterly simpatico. Well, we hadn't even really said anything. So, but I could, after all, I mean, you've had the experience of hearing Patty's voice. I felt like I could hear deeply into her soul immediately, and it seemed I could just tell, yeah, this is it. I didn't. We neither of us knew about the ultimate romantic
Well,
aspect of
that
it.
was going to be my next question. So, when did the romance part show up for you?
Well, there was a best friends
Yeah, we
phase
were
that
best
happened.
friends
Yeah, first.
pretty quickly.
Yeah, we got into that real quickly. Just
And I started liking him, but I didn't date people I worked with. So that was like really strong rule. You don't date people in the band. Just don't do it.
and I thought I was going to be. I mean,
Hermit.
I told Patty I was a celibate hermit guitar player, which is in fact what I had been, and I had no intention of changing that. I just didn't know how life was planned to work out. And, but it just evolved to that. What, a year and a half or
Mhm.
so,
Oh,
more than
wow,
that.
a year and a half.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we were already playing together.
yeah.
We we were playing gigs together up and down. Because after we got together
The
in this
band lasted
band,
2 months.
yeah, the band was ill-fated, and we didn't even have to quit because the band just
There were
dissolved.
great people in this band. It was
Yeah,
just, it wasn't supposed to, because Bob McCarthy was the piano player, amazing.
yeah,
Curtis Olson was the bass player,
yeah.
the
Oh, wow.
British drummer from England.
John
John
Osborne.
Osborne, who's the one
Yeah,
who started the group.
and
Who else
us.
was in there? Was
That might have
were
been
you
it.
playing? Yeah.
Yeah,
And it was just a killer band. And I mean, not killer band, killer musicians in the wrong band, you know. And it was just David, we were at David's house.
Yeah, it was at David's house where we
We
met.
did the whole thing.
Yeah, it was clearly not going to happen, and it didn't happen. And then Patty and I were basically stuck because we knew now. By that time, we were best friends, and we knew we wanted to play together. We'd driven up and down the peninsula.
We
to
didn't live in San
rehearsals.
Francisco, so I lived in Mountain View. He lived in Menlo Park. So I said, okay, I'll drive one day. I'll stop at your house, and I'll do the gas, and then you drive the next. We'll share it because rehearsal started the next day.
So, Patty, were you dating other people during this?
Yeah, I still had my life. He was a hermit celibate guitar player. So I wasn't gonna be dating. I think I had my life, but I kind of started liking him. I was like, oh man, I think I'm liking this guy. And I was like, no, no, no. He's just a really sweet person. So instead we became like really best friends.
Mhm.
He was my
So,
best
was
friend.
the moment that you realized each other had a romantic interest, was that something that was just obvious, or did you, one or the other of you, take the risk and start the conversation? How did
I
that
think
happen?
before we took, did you take the risk?
Yeah.
I think Patty took the risk first, but I was pretty quickly riding along for the ride.
Oh,
Let's
it's
go for
terrible.
it.
I figured it had to be Patty.
That was terrible.
I've always been slower on the uptake. I've seen Patty.
But I knew he liked me, but he wasn't gonna do anything. And so we were going doing gigs. Even with gigs, I drive to his house and we go do gigs. And so one night we came back from doing a gig, and I was like, "Oh man, my shoulder."
I need a shoulder rub.
Oh,
It's the old shoulder rub trick.
I can give you a massage. So we're just sitting in the car. So he gives me the shoulder.
Oh,
I
that's
could
so, I
tell.
love that.
I could tell that something was up.
I was clueless. I had no idea. It's what do you say? The hunter in the game. You don't know which you are.
No, but
Neither of us
you
knew.
won.
Yeah.
You became the hunter. But anyway, at the time it was really funny. It was so, he was so innocent and stuff like that he would actually not think that someone was trying to beguile him. And then I felt, okay, I can never manipulate him because he's too tender. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
what really started.
I think he needed somebody
Yeah,
like
he
you.
needed that. I was like, yes, yes, Tuck, yes, I respect you. Yes, yes.
That's so great. Well, tell us about how your music changed as a result of this budding relationship. Like how would you talk about how your musical choices started evolving as a result of your relationship?
No, it's the whole thing started when we decided to play together after the band fell apart. We just asked each other, what do you want this to be? What do you want people to feel like? How do we want how do we want them to feel after they hear us? And neither of us had ever been in a band where anybody asked that question.
I was just going to say, listening to that is such an evolved point of view. How do we want the audience to feel as opposed to what do I feel like playing?
Yeah, it was always about that. And also, we didn't do songs that we didn't love because I've been in top 40 bands. I said all kinds of bands. I played in thousands, hundreds of bands. I mean, over the years. And I knew that I didn't have to be a singer singing a song that, whatever it was, I was giving it my all in whatever band I was in. But in this band, this group, I wasn't going to have to act because I wasn't going to do a song that I didn't love. And so we made that pact. We both have to love it. The only rules are no genre, doesn't matter none of that mattered, but it had to be something that it spoke to us in some way. I mean, it could have been a pig foot and a bottle of beer as long as you loved it. And so we weren't making that kind of decision, but we didn't do anything we didn't love. So that really helped it. I mean, we're children of the 60s too, so we'd grown up with everything, jazz and all the folk, everything, blues, everything else. And so when we went to pick a song list, we didn't think we had to just do one genre. So we'd be like, we need to get a gig. Let's get a song list together. Do you know this? Take Love Easy, Ella and Joe. You know that? Yeah. Every song on that was on the song list. What about Asia? Steely Dan. Okay, every song from that was on the song list. Jimi Hendrix, yes. Joe Beam, yes. Tad Dameron, okay, let's do some songs like that. Ellington, okay. You know, the Beatles, of course, let's do that. I don't think we did Joni Mitchell, maybe a little something. Joni Mitchell. I mean, we would just, it was a wide list. And we just chose from stuff that we liked. Stevie Wonder, a lot of Stevie Wonder tunes. I love Wendy and Lisa. I just all kinds of stuff. So we never really made a decision about what kind of genre we were going to be, and we still did that. And so because it was like the foundation of our meeting, the foundation of the sort of Tuck and Patty. We looked for names that we're going to call that we got to have a band name.
Right.
And then we are like, okay, that doesn't, no, no. And he wanted to be Patty and Tuck. And I was like, that's not musical. It should be Tuck and Patty. That sounds more.
Iambic pentameter, baby.
So,
Got to go with it.
so
I had to surrender on that one.
But your music, we know as beloved audience members, really has a very particular slant to it. There is quite a lot of music about love.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
talk about that. What does that mean to you guys, and why is that?
that was the answer to the question.
Yeah.
What do you want people to feel like? Loved.
We do feel love.
We don't believe in love. We want them to at least walk out of the room thinking there's a possibility of it.
Because that's what we both believe. I mean, we believe that that was the most essential thing in life. And therefore, given the opportunity, given the platform, we just were aware that music, I mean, we've been the recipients of it. Music is amazingly powerful. Sometimes it's going to get under your skin. I mean, you never know. You never know. So, but we had to allow for the possibility that it would actually get inside of somebody's heart. And so there's a certain amount of responsibility for, well, therefore, what are you going to inject them with? And we said, well, the best thing we could possibly do is make music that's where the lyrics are about love, but also where kind of the meta message of what we do is about love.
Even if it's a hard message, you know, love, or people are hating each other or killing each other or whatever it is, underneath all of that is, but there's a solution, you know. So
You know, a lot of people can't get away with that over the years because it starts feeling inauthentic. But you guys, it feels so essential to who you are. And I wonder, you know, if you can talk a little bit about that just from a very personal level, maybe from a spiritual perspective, cultural perspective, because you appear as two people that come from very different worlds. I know that your spiritual paths are quite different from one another. Share with us, share with the audience about that, and a little bit about how that has influenced your music.
Yeah, I mean, you're right in everything you said. The thing that we most agreed on was that love is greater than we are. That if we experience it, I mean, to us, it's a manifestation of God, kind of maybe somewhat clouded by the fact that it has to come out of us humans and we mess it up along the way. But it's still divine. You know, all love is to us divine love, and it's just degrees of perfection of that love. So we're not going to attain a level worth really thinking about of loving in this lifetime as regular old humans, but we can attempt to present ourselves as available in case divine love wants to flow through us or come around us, or, you know, operate in spite of us. That'd be great. That'd be great. I mean, it's a dream we all dream, and it's what it feels like when transcendent moments happen in music, even if you never get really to talk about it with the band, or if it just came down to, man, that was great. We kind of transcended what we normally do. That was a magical moment. Well, we feel that there's divinity in that. And we both felt that, regardless of spiritual or religious background. That was the thing. Yeah. So we have made it a point from the beginning to attempt to surrender our music to God, and to therefore trust that God will do whatever God wants to do. So if somebody gets moved, great. You know, we didn't do it. We're just there we're just trying to do our best to do our thing. And if somebody doesn't, well, we're not going to lament that exactly. We're not going to go off and scheme about, well, how can we get that person? We're just going to repeatedly, as best we can, surrender. And if you just try to surrender over and over and over again, our assumption was surely we'll get better at it, even though you never have any idea whether you're doing a good job of surrendering or not. How we have limited consciousness, so there's no way for us to know that. But what else are we going to do? So before every show, I mean, we've got it down to a shorthand, but we offer our music up to God and let the chips
Yeah,
fall where
the
they may.
divine, whatever that is to you, whatever that is.
It really comes across. I know you know that because I'm sure, over the decades, your audiences have made that clear. But again, I find it extremely unusual and very particular to not many performers, and it really comes through with both of you. And it's just a beautiful thing because we all really need to feel transcendent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we need to rise up above our own personal despair when we feel it, or, the things that are holding us back. And there's an expansiveness that takes place as an audience member at your concerts. And would you say that any of the differences that you have, not the way in which you're the same, but the way in which you're different, has helped or hindered that process?
Well, I think the fact that we're both willing we're just willing to go. We're willing to open our hearts and be available to do that, to let whatever it is flow through us. Because we used to always, we get through playing a song and we're like looking at each other like, whoa, did you feel that? Yeah. And all of us are witnessing the same thing. So we feel like witnesses, like everybody who's watching us. We used to get to witness this thing. And our differences are, what, you ate meat at the time and you didn't.
Trivial.
Black and white, fat and skinny. What else?
Personality.
Personality.
Maybe
I'm wild. It wasn't at all wild. Like in that kind of ways I was wild. He has his wildness, but
I was not.
I was like a wild woman, or I am a wild woman. So, and Tuck is just this, not like this, because he's a Scorpio. Okay, Tuck is Tuck. You see how he plays the guitar, so you can tell part of his personality in the way he plays that guitar. But the differences just were not enough for us to notice them.
It's just a little bit of texture, I think.
Well, it's just semantics. It's like going from a different country. I mean, he came from a family that's very quiet. Everybody's quiet. Nobody's cussing. There was only his sister, his mom. His father died when he was much younger. So they had a small family core. I have cousins, uncles, brothers, sisters. Everybody's crazy and running, talking and stuff like that. And we're doing our thing. So he stepped into this like a hurricane, basically, a loving hurricane, but he stepped into this thing, it's like they didn't argue or have harsh words. I used to think he's just not true. He must be pretending. And then I met his sister and I went, oh my God, they exist. It's like,
didn't you once tell me that you've never used a curse word, Tuck?
I might have said that. I mean, I haven't pretty much in my adult life. I just couldn't do it successfully. I can't roll my R's very well. It's not convincing when I try, so why bother? Yeah, sure, as a kid, I tried to. Yeah, no, that kind of faded away. Right. I grew up in a family where, even though nobody told me to be articulate and carefully put what I thought into words, it was exhibited to me that that's more or less how you're supposed to act. My dad was a lawyer and an engineer, and my mom was a legal secretary, and she would write 5-page letters in triplicate to anybody, to the plumber, talking about the needs of the situation, carefully punctuated, retyped until there were no mistakes, and this kind of thing. It was just, that's what I saw. So yeah, I wasn't really going to curse. I realized that even though nobody would ever express displeasure with me and my family, because Nobody did that. We were completely supportive. Patty finds this utterly unimaginable. But that strange, way out on the bell curve type theory of child raising apparently prevailed in our household. And so nobody ever told us that there's anything wrong with this. Just, okay, great. Everything's just going to be great. And therefore, nobody would say, don't split an infinitive, or don't end the sentence with a preposition, or don't use a curse word when you could use more words and say more clearly what you really feel because you're just being lazy. Even though nobody would ever say that, it was just implicit. You could instantly read the situation and say, this won't go over very well. So yeah, but all those little details to me, differences between people are a good thing. And the obvious one with us, if you don't know us, is just race, skin color, that kind of thing, gender, right? That's different. And you can find a few differences, but the
And
ones,
spiritual paths, I mean, right? The two of you
yeah,
are quite different
Well,
spiritual
I
paths.
less visible, but
we were
yes.
raised in different ways, but for my view of spirituality, I was raised in the church. I went to church, sang gospel choir, loved the whole concept, didn't like everything I heard there, but was able to. When we were little kids, we had to go to Sunday school, and we had this teacher who was so cool, and she played this organ, Mrs. McAdoo. And one day we were in Sunday school because the little kids would go to little kid church while the big church was happening because we were real little. And one day she said, "See this?" She showed the Bible, and she went, "See this? All the parts that are in red are what Jesus say, and that's the only thing that matters." Which is probably heretic, a heretic or something to say that. But I was like, okay, that's easy. Thou shalt be this, loving, don't do, okay, I can deal with that. The Beatitudes. So I had a different view of it, of religion, even though I grew up in that church. So I was accepting of, because I had friends that were Buddhists and people who were Muslim, and I couldn't think that this God that everybody talked about, who was all encompassing and loving, would hate someone enough to, kill them because they didn't believe in one thing. So God just wasn't that small. It was like a mother too, mother, father, God, goddess, whatever you want to say. For me inside, I would take the parts of what I heard in church that rang in my spirit, and the rest I'd leave alone. It's like a buffet. Eat what you like, leave the rest at the table. And so for Tuck to be doing something different, or any of my friends, was not a reason for me to dislike them. I figure if I couldn't go
Clearly, that wasn't a reason.
yeah, if I couldn't go to mosque and pray, and it's sort of Southern Baptist, but I figure if I couldn't go there, I couldn't go to a Catholic church, if I couldn't go to a synagogue, if I couldn't be in the woods, if I couldn't worship the Almighty, the powerful, but there's this being anywhere, then it wasn't worth the religion, really.
So tell us a little bit about your family's musical taste, and then how that informed yours and how that played into today.
Well, I guess I came from a family of non-professional piano players. My older sister, whom I pretty much idolized, played classical piano, took piano lessons and played. And so by the time I was two or three, I was crawling around under the piano, adoring of her and listening to her play Chopin and Debussy and Beethoven, this kind of stuff. And our dad was not a professional musician, but had at one point back in college played in bands, and he would still come home and play the piano. He only played one piece, which was the Rhapsody in Blue. And I assume, not remembering specifically, that he wasn't very good anymore at it, but he did play the Rhapsody in Blue. So I got an idea early on that that's what adult men do. You come home in a kind of insouciant way, you just rip off some of the Rhapsody in Blue. That doesn't matter. It's not very good, but you're not even thinking about it. In fact, he would entertain us by playing portions of it with his toes. And I think we can.
With his toes?
Yeah, I said that was very limited portions, but it still, I think, made an impression on an early version of Tuck that, okay, anything goes, basically. Anything goes. If you want to play the piano with your toes, well, if Daddy does it, then okay, that'd be fine. And so I ended up following in the footsteps of my sister, because I took piano piano lessons and played with my hands. But I I think what happened during all of those several years of just hearing music played in the house was I developed a really good ear. Even lying on the floor, I got to the point where I could recognize, oh, Claire de Lune's in D flat. Right? I recognize that particular sonority. Oh, I've heard it. And then I'd watch her hands. I say, okay, D flat. And then I'd get to the point where if she made a mistake, I'd know which note she hit. And I'd be able to instantly tell her, oh, sis, you hit a wrong note, which she didn't need to hear. But you hit a wrong note. And what you should have played was F, but you played E. And so my ear developed kind of in the way that it's so great if your ear gets to develop, because it developed for me as a little child, and so it just kind of grew that way. The kind of music they played around the house, popular music of the day. And what was that? There might have been some Elvis Presley and some Bobby Darin and pop crooners and Frank Sinatra probably, and some jazz. We'd still have the 33s and the 45 or the whatever it was, LPs.
78.
Yeah,
What
78.
about you, Patty? What kind of music was in your household?
All 24/7, radio on, KDIA, Lucky 13, K-Soul. And then my mom had big record collection, and they had from 78s to, when they had long play LPs and all that stuff. We started buying 45s. And she loved jazz, so she had jazz. She loved Sarah Vaughan. She loved Ella. She had Duke Ellington. Everybody. Billie Holiday records. Just Coleman Hawkins. But she liked Tennessee Ernie Ford, and some of these sort of country and western singers. Show tunes. She loved Mario Lanza, so she had lots of that. She had this full thing, and so and she had classical music there, and then for us, she would go and buy stuff. She'd have these. You used to get records, and there'd be in these sort of big folders, like a page, and then you pull them, and there's all the records there. I think those must have been 78s, but so all the classical records. She just provided all that. We had it going on.
Did you sing gospel?
In the choir when I was a little kid. I was directing choir by the time I was like 9, 11, little junior choir. It was just part of it. And of course you went to church, and that's where you heard some of the most amazing singers that you'd ever heard in your life. These ladies that would get up in church and start singing. And boy, they just make the walls fall down. And that power. And I think that in gospel music is what really teaches you to improvise, because in gospel music, you learn the song, the director's there, as a soloist you sing, but until you do your part, your improv, your soul, your testimony, put your words into the song, you haven't really sung the song. And so that early training of gospel music was really deep dive into improvisation,
right?
And opening your soul and showing your heart and showing your spirit and saying your words. So that is an early on lesson that's, you can't even put a value on what that did, as music being the vehicle to open your soul and open your spirit. I always felt that way about music because, in rough childhood, we didn't have the kind of house where it was unjudgmental and everything was wonderful all the time. So, music was a soother for my heart. Mm-hmm. And when I sang, it soothed my soul. So my dream when I was little, because I wanted to sing, but my dream was always the vision I had in my mind and in my heart when I would be standing in front of the mirror with the broom and stuff and singing, would be what would be happening to the people who heard it. That they would be soothed the way I was soothed.
I just love that. I mean, you said that earlier, and I just think that's such a beautiful perspective to have, because it's so generous. It's not what turns me on, it's what is going to influence and how is this going to influence my audience, and to feel the responsibility for that. It's really a beautiful thing.
it isn't that way, but I think that it was more, if I really loved it, then I had the opportunity, the chance, the possibility to help you love it. I figure if you get up as a singer, so this informed my whole philosophy as a singer. If I don't love it, how can you love it? If I don't love the sound of my voice, if I don't fall in love with the sound of my voice coming out of my body, how can I expect you to love it? And I think that when, as artists in any way, at some level, that the thing that becomes the missing link that a lot of us will have, and the trouble we have, and sort of the drama and chaos that comes with it sometimes in our lives, is the fact that we spend a lot of time not loving on ourselves, and that we don't really love the sound of our voice. And it's kind of impossible to me in some ways to make it really feel that way to others if you don't.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it makes so much sense. And I mean, we say that just in general about how we feel about ourselves
Mhm.
all the time, right? If we don't love ourselves, we can't love others. If we don't love ourselves, we can't love really
We
in
can
the way
try.
that we want. And but you're saying it, yeah, it's such a pure way about your music. Yeah. I was going to say I love that because we're talking about love, but yeah, it's very true. It's very important, and yeah. So I have this other kind of question for you that sort of goes in another direction, because we all know that when you're married and you're also in business together
Mhm.
for a very, very long time, um, mixing that personal with the business can be very difficult and very challenging. And so, tell us about how you've managed to maintain such a long marriage, being in business and being together as a married couple.
It's important to learn how to fight as fair as one can.
Yeah, in fact, we used to really try that because we
Fight
were
fair.
told to, a lot of things we did because we were told to do them, right? Fight fair, be responsible, be respectful of each other and that kind of thing. And especially that fight fair one, that can be really, really annoying if you try to fight fair with somebody who feels like fighting. That's not always the generous thing to do, to say, okay, so when you say
Oh
this, here's
yeah.
what I
Oh my
feel.
God.
Well, okay, that doesn't necessarily result, and you might get a fair fight, you might have a nice debate out of that, but it's going to be worse than
You make the other person start hollering.
yeah, you can really drive somebody crazy with that. So instead, we gradually got more into fighting fast because it turns out it's the same old fight. You
Fighting fast, I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
just
Get
fight
it
fast,
over
get it
with.
over with, get it over with, because
It's
it's
the
the same
same
thing.
fight.
Yeah,
It's all about power. It's power. Who's got the power? Who's right? Who's wrong? Okay, admit it. I'm not going to admit it. It's just like it's ridiculous. We have the same fight over and over again if we look at it. It masquerades as different themes, but it's the same fight.
you can fight in shorthand. Just say, think of all the words you'd say, and then save all those words and just make some sort of brief reference to them. Yeah, it can just be. It doesn't have to even involve words. Just
It's
yeah,
starting
this,
the fight, and you kind of look at each other and go, "Really? You
yeah.
really want to do that?" It's like,
Yeah.
nah.
Let's just skip on to
We
the
had the
end.
fight. It's over. Let's move on.
Because a lot of very long-term relationships, the way they do so well is because people spend time apart. So they have different jobs, they get out of the house, they don't see each other till dinner. You guys, everything is connected in the
Yeah.
relationship.
This
What
this is
about that?
this is immersion. I mean, and it was really pretty early on, and then especially when we went on the road. That's immersion in one hotel room, one car, one plane, one. You're always together, and our experience has been you get good at what you do. And so we've had a lot more total hours in our 43 years of doing this
Mhm.
than most couples get. We might have had, what, we had 5 times as many hours, 10 times as many hours as a lot of people really end up spending together. If you've got kids, you're not just together, the two of you, and you've got separate jobs or maybe you
Right.
have separate friends. Well, none of that exactly applies in our case. So we just become kind of experts at it. And I think what happens is differences between people get kind of worn down. Uh, the frictions, you're constantly rubbing against each other.
Mhm.
And
So things get smooth.
yeah, and most of
Yeah,
that
you
friction,
can't throw it under the rug and you can't pretend. I mean, we can't have a fight and be angry at each other and not speaking because, we have fights. Well, you're tired, you didn't go to sleep, the food wasn't there, the plane was late. But we can't go on stage and play and sing about what we do without having had a conversation. So I can't go on stage mad at him. Sometimes
Yeah, you
it's,
can't sing about love when
it's
you just
really
had a
busy. It
virus.
feels too weird to do that. So it's not that we haven't brought it onto the stage. I mean, the first song would be scatty, and I'm like, you wrong, so it's like the first chord is like, let's just finish this little fight up in the middle of this song, and then he starts laughing, and so then that's that. But it's you can't sweep it under the rug. I can't be mad at him and not talk to him for a week. I can't be mad. We can't have that. It doesn't work out. And I think that being together makes you be more together. I mean, our biggest, I say it's at least 3 years maybe in total that we've been apart. If I counted up all the hours, maybe 3 years and 43
probably
years
right.
would be about all
You've
the
added up the hours and it equals
not
3.
not been, like in the same
Yeah.
house at night, or if somebody was sick or something happened.
Yeah.
It's probably about 3 years total.
Less than 10% of our time of our lives. Yeah.
So we just
Probably.
gravitate. It doesn't mean we talk all the time. I could be in the house all day long and he can be here doing stuff and we don't say anything. We don't have to be doing that to be, we can be in the same spot. And when you're in a hotel and traveling and stuff like that, you can be right next to each other and still be completely in your own world. And neither of us is offended by that, the other person's silence or, space. So I think, why not think? During this COVID though, I remember at one point, because we're always together anyway, but I remember at one point I went, you have got to go someplace. You need to get out, you need to get away from me for like 4 hours.
You said 5 hours.
5
I remember
hours.
specifically.
And he goes, I can go to the backyard. I went, no, leave the property. To go,
Yeah, I mean, we all know that you either ended up alone in your house. I ended up alone in my house, just the way
No,
it turned out.
I thought about that.
There's the people who ended up by themselves, and then there's the people who ended up together.
Yeah.
But either way, very intense, right?
We were joking about it. He never did go anywhere though. He's like, I go, I can never leave him. He'll stalk me. I would stalk him too. So, but that was it. Finally, I just said that. And Tuck was like, I'll go in the backyard. I was like, no, you have to go away. So then we talked about that for a bit. And he was like, oh, P, okay, so okay, you don't have to go. Just don't
You
look
would
at
just get in your car and go drive somewhere.
Yeah, just sit in the car.
Well, he could go out. He got to go to the grocery store and do stuff. I have lupus. So I was like told,
Oh,
keep your butt in the house. You're not supposed to be going out in the world, even with masks and wrapped up and everything, during the height of stuff. So he was the one you got to actually get out there a little bit, even though it's like the hazmat man when he came home, but you experienced the world.
Yeah, I was going and hanging out with my senior friends during the senior hours at the grocery store. Well, 1 or 2 days a week. Patty didn't get to do that.
so Patty, you never went because of your lupus. I didn't realize that. That must
Yeah,
have
I
been
got
particularly.
I got sick during the first part of the pandemic. At first, I thought, well, maybe I got it, but it wasn't that. I had some kind of lupus flare, and so because of that, my immune system was wacky. I was like, no, you need to stay. You don't need to be out and about right now when things were at the height of, the beginning of it.
So you didn't even go to the store.
No,
A lot of people didn't. I mean, that's so intense,
mhm.
right?
That was weird. But nothing would have prepared me for what you were doing. I remember we talked one time. You were in your backyard and stuff, and on Zooming or Skyping or something, and the number of people that spent this whole time alone was unbelievable.
Pretty crazy.
And when I knew it, but when we started doing those Facebook Lives every Sunday, and people were writing to us and I began to realize how many people all over the world were alone.
Yeah.
We live in the peninsula, so we had a house in the backyard. People were living in high-rise buildings and stuff by themselves, in Rome or gosh,
Yeah.
Haifa or, you know, all over the world and by themselves for all that time. So that's when the music became really a lifeline. Talk about music as a lifeline.
That's right.
I think that realization, it hurt me so bad when they talked. I knew we couldn't go out and play. It was dangerous. I mean, it was so weird to be considered one of the most dangerous things that could happen, was to sing to someone. And that also we were not essential. And it became apparent
Yeah, well, the whole irony is
that
going
the
to be that
art,
this
then,
opens up.
everything, art was essential for
Yeah,
people's well-being and mental health.
right.
And
Yeah, I
so,
was just going to say, the irony of all of the idea that it's not essential is this is going to be the number one thing that people are going to flock to now
mhm,
as soon as they can, right? It's getting back to music and getting back to theater and waking up to the world of culture and art because we've missed it so much. And anyway, I mean, Liz, our associate director, is always talking about music as a first responder. And, it's so true. Um, yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you about your experiences with jazz camp and living jazz and um, just anything you want to say about what it was like for you both to get exposed to our work and um, any memories of coming to camp for the first time and coming back again. And, what's it been like for you?
I remember that it was
really
basically, it was
remarkable.
magical. I mean, as soon as we walked into jazz camp, which,
Cazadero at the
yeah,
time.
Cazadero jazz camp, which we did a couple of times. Yeah, I'm sure you're right. We were trying to figure it out earlier, and it seems like it was 1985. We knew that we had stepped into a kind of
Magic.
rarefied place, a magic place where everybody was safe. And that was by design. It wasn't just happenstance. That was by agreement of you and the other people who were creating this. It's like a
Yeah.
sacred space where everybody could be themselves and be utterly supported by every other
Yeah.
person around. I mean, when do you get that in life? So it was a total an immersive culture shock in a positive way experience for every single person who went there, and of course for most of them when they had to re-enter regular life
Mhm.
afterwards. But that's okay. It's well worth it to have had that kind of pure experience, which was unique for everybody. For us, it was completely immersive because it became clear immediately this is not about punching the clock. Okay, you got a
You're not going to
class.
teach them to go to go to your tent,
No,
which was. But also, I love Cazadero. It was a village. I actually always had this feeling that we were in a village. Kids were there. The kids that could be there, running everywhere. Every adult was right there to talk to any kid or be there or pick you up and pat you if you were crying. Or people had little kids that were there teaching, and just the village part of it, the real community, complete community. And plus, the staff at that time, thinking about with Ed and Pete and Juanita and
Oh, yeah.
Bobby and Eddie Marshall and God, the guitar, God, I just
Jim Kramer, Bruce Swan,
everyone, just the drums, Andy,
Andy Moreno.
just there was everything, the dancing, all that. It was, and then people doing poetry and open mics, which were just supported. Everyone, that people could feel supported. I just love the fact I love community and I love village, and I think that our lives now in our modern kind of way, and the way when we at 60s everybody started going away to school and really never returning home again and moving to different places, and to be all of a sudden in this environment that was really a village, like a real village. It was our village for that week, and people were that, it was, God, what a magical time. We just, and then when we moved to the next place,
Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz,
Yeah.
saying no matter wherever it would be, it was home. It was our village for that week.
Hold
And
that thought for 1 minute. I want to let everyone know we just have under 10 minutes left of our conversation before our Q&A. So any of you that have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and Liz will organize them and feed them to me. Um, I'm looking forward to that part. So yeah, and so tell us about any particular memories or moments at camp um, that you may have had that were particular. Because I can think of some with you guys for sure. But are any moments that you want to share?
Well, I don't know what, a lot of them have stuck with me. One of them was Art Landy. Watching Art Landy play the role of generous, uh, unself-conscious, because he was so great. He was completely unself-conscious in his generosity of being willing to accompany anybody who wanted to do anything, and then playing as if nobody had ever even had an experience of music before. In other words, it was utterly fresh. It was brand new each time that he would do something with somebody. He would be there 100% for and with them in the moment, which of course meant forget about that rehearsal because it's no predictor of what's going to really happen. But the way that he lent himself utterly and with so much heart to each person, uh, and allowed the music to flow spontaneously based on that, not like unsettling to them, lovingly caressing them with what he played, and at the same time utterly unpredictable in his approach. I thought it was just magical. I always loved the feeling there that there it wasn't a stratified situation. Anybody could come up and talk to anybody anytime, and you could ask anybody on the faculty, "Oh, will you do my open mic?" And the answer was always, "Yeah, sure." Not because it was required, you didn't have to do it, but that was the culture that you were part of, and it was only natural to say yes, 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 and then to be supportive of each other. And even
I
for
just
people who,
realized, for those of you watching that may not know what we're talking about, just very quickly. So, Jazz Camp was the original program that Living Jazz formed itself around. It's an 8-day jazz, music, dance, and vocal program for teens through seniors. And it happens down in La Honda in the middle of a gorgeous 1,000-acre redwood site. This would have been our 38th year. I've produced it all 38 years. It's been an incredible part of my life. And usually there's about 320 to 40 people there, from complete beginners through seasoned professionals. So it is, as you guys are saying, it's one of the most intense, spiritually transformative village in an idealistic sense of the word that we could possibly imagine. And for those of us who've had the blessing of going back year after year, it is the place we just want to imagine life could be. And it's like you're living a lifetime in just those 8 days. It's pretty special.
Yeah, and those open mics or in the evening, the concerts and um, to hear all the different people play together. But I think for me, the big thing would always be the participants and students and people that would come, and somebody who was terrified, and before the end of that week, one night would get up and face their fear and get up and sing and then just be exquisite. They'd ask someone to accompany them, and they'd get up, and the wonder in their eyes and their heart and their spirit, when all of a sudden they realized they were doing this thing that they loved and they were enjoying it, and people were listening, and they were having that experience of getting outside of their head, outside of themselves, outside of judging their performance, and just playing. That was always the most beautiful, beautiful time to me.
Yeah.
That's miraculous, because I really think a lot of this comes right down to you, Stacy. That it's always so supportive that there's no judgment. That just evaporates on the first day for everybody. And so if you've never performed before and you're horrified of what other people will think, and you get up and all of a sudden there's a complete vacuum when it comes to judgment. And instead you're bathed in love and support from all these people. That's a kind of transformative experience where you realize, oh, maybe I don't have to judge myself so harshly either. Maybe there's a different mode. Maybe this thing that I believed in could really happen, which is get up and just uninhibitedly try to be myself and not worry about what anybody thinks. And yeah, that again, that was by design. And I know that you entered into this thing it was a labor of love for you, just as it has turned out to be for everybody else who's gotten involved with it subsequently.
Yeah.
It's contagious.
And as the years have gone by and the sort of American Idol and all this kind of sort of atmosphere started to permeate and take over the art of singing or playing music in any way, you know, the competitiveness and all of this stuff came in. You managed somehow, all of you, because there's a group of you that are working, but just the inner spirit that you had of that you brought to the whole thing, Stacey, you and Ellen, and just, I mean, you know, that won't happen here. This is, we support each other here, and giving people that model and being able to keep, especially with young folks now, what they're exposed to, but to get them there just into the creativity, the music, and not the judgment and that kind of part of the competition.
Right. I mean, that's kind of a beautiful segue into almost starting our Q&A because we're just about at that time. But yeah, there's a very, as you say, it's been quite an intentional journey to create an environment that fosters acceptance and fosters appreciation and gratitude, and is really about that even more than the music. And then the music is a vessel
Right.
to create an atmosphere where people really are brought to the table with their higher self.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that higher self comes forth, they realize that's all there is to be. And so this children's camp, and the reason I was saying it's a nice segue to our Q&A is that when we started our youth camp, took a long time for me to want to do another camp because I was so busy with so many programs, and I had been asked for a number of years, can't you do something like this for our children? And I avoided it for a long time until I did. And the truth of the matter is, it's almost, we were talking about this earlier, but that atmosphere of teaching children how to be a good person, how to be a generous individual, how to support one another and celebrate differences, how to learn how to be a good audience member, and how to love and give support and positive reinforcement. It's all about that at the youth camp. And children are changed. It's just incredible to watch it. So we're so proud of the work. And the reason I say that is, as I mentioned earlier, to our audience, all the resources that we've brought in this month and even this evening with this event, that will be financial support towards our capacity to do the youth camp this summer, because we're pulling it off in person. We didn't get enough time to do jazz camp in person at the end of June, but we are going to do the youth camp. So just, you know, again, in advance, everybody that came to this event tonight, or anyone that has donated or feels inspired to make a donation of any size, it will go towards our capacity to support these kids who really deserve to get out of their homes, away from electronics, get them in a beautiful natural environment around music and community and friendship. So it's really important. So I'm going to ask your first question. That's come from Luigi. And he asked, what different, oops, I just lost the question because it went somewhere in my chat. Oh, here we go. What differences do you see in your audiences between your early days and present times? What does the audience offer that makes you enjoy the concerts the most?
Well, they're older,
Yeah, some of them aged right along with us.
but they brought their kids, and they brought, well, they brought their children, and now their children have children. And so we get generations that come, which is amazing. And we're amazed to see we still get young folks. And so I guess that's big, Just
And yeah, in a way, it hasn't changed almost at all. Uh, I mean, and after all, neither have we really. We've tried to get better, but the concept isn't any different than it was when we first said, "Oh, we got to go out and get a gig as a duo because we don't have a band yet, so we better start getting gigs." And so
and the concept record companies were like, you have to reinvent yourself and you have to rechange. It's like, how do we reinvent ours? We can do a different style of record or something. We can do that. We can do a Great American Songbook one or this and that, but there's nothing to change.
we found that the music is sometimes challenging for audiences. Like you would think that a duo would be ideal for background music, but somehow it's quite a bit more confronting than that. And so we tend to attract people who are ready to kind of go with it. And what that does for us is present a tremendous challenge because we're kind of aware that people are there. I mean, that, like fully there, not just there. We played lots of background music situations, of course, in the early years, especially naturally. But we're aware, even if we can't see the audience, for example, we're still aware that there are humans there who are actually there, really present.
So giving you their loving attention.
And what transforms the music, it does. There's no way around it. You can be as professional as you want to, or as personally inspired as you want to be, but in all kinds of ways that none of us can describe, we're all in it together.
And for core audience, which has stayed there for all these years, all over the places that we go to around the world, I think in the beginning what it is that you're playing and they're learning to know you and they love it. And as the years go by, what happens is that they trust you completely. And so there is no moment of let's get acquainted, or there's an instant from the first moment. We all know why we're all there. We're there just to get loved up and do it. And so everybody is ready to go, like from note one, and we all get to do that. I think that's the trust that the people that come to hear us play over the years now is just, there's no question that they're just going to come in, and when we walk out, they're going to say, here's my heart, you can have it for this 2 hours.
Well, you open that channel, you guys do that. We come looking for that, and then you open us up. So we're not necessarily open before we got there. We just waiting for you to rip our hearts out. And it works. So, okay, we have another question from Susan Whitcoff. Hey, Susan. And she's curious about when you're going to get back on the road again. How will you look back upon your live from your living room experience when you're back in the real world? Do you think you'll continue them?
Oh, yes. I think that on live streaming is here to stay. And I think that any venue that wants to continue to be viable in the world must do that. Because one thing, as we are all aging, there are a lot of people who used to come all the time to concerts who now really don't feel comfortable driving at night from here from here to someplace to go to a concert. It's real. Go to the matinee or go early, but thinking of driving back home, at midnight or whatever. After, a lot of people really don't feel comfortable doing that, and there are people who are challenged in getting around, mobility. There are people that would love to come to a concert and can't physically do that. And I think that what this time has shown is that music is there, and there are people who would love to participate and see, attend concerts, and that are getting a chance to see people that they've wanted to see for a long time and never have because they can't get there, can't go there, or live far enough away that they can't. So this is a thing that's here to stay. I don't think that we'll be able to do it every Sunday forever and ever, but we will do it. It's not going to go away. And I think that's a big thing of it. But I can't wait to get on the road. We've done a few things in the last few weeks, in the last month or so, a couple of months, where we have actually gone to empty theaters and done live streams. And we did one at SF Jazz last month. And we did Kumbar, we did our annual Valentine's Day thing. We went there in an empty place. We did Freight and Salvage last year, went there in an empty room. And then we actually, now that people are out in mass, we went, there's a documentary being done about us. And so we went to do the shooting of that.
Oh,
And
wow.
a couple of other things that we've been out doing. Oh my God, I cannot wait to get on the stage in a room full of people.
We can't wait to be in an audience listening to you on stage.
Meanwhile, it's nice for people for everybody to have an equally good seat at the show. That's one of the nice things about this couch
Yeah,
thing.
we're right here on the
Yeah,
couch.
you know, you
can
it's
see
not easy.
everything.
Yeah, for better or for worse, you do see everything, and we kind of like that aspect of it. We've shied away from trying to become increasingly produced and slick because we have a feeling that nobody even cares about that. But the whole, as always, the goal is intimacy and for us
Mhm.
to shed any concerns about anything and just give ourselves to the music. And we found we could do it on the couch, so
Yeah.
we'll keep doing some of that anyway.
Yeah, that's so great to hear. I know for myself, there's nothing like sitting in the audience, feeling the energy in the room with all the other people in the
Yeah.
room together and sharing in some kind of connective experience. I really miss it, but it has been. I was telling Tuck and Patti earlier, for those who care, I'm a bicycle rider, and on Sundays I'll put your event sometimes on my headphones as I ride up a steep hill, and it's been pretty cool. So we have question number 3 here. This is from Molly Carter, and it's specifically for you, Patti. Do you use music as a coping mechanism for disability challenges? If yes, what are some techniques that you can share?
You know, for me, what I've discovered that music, the wonderful thing about music is that I can be having a pretty bad lupus achy day, but when I sing, so funny because on my screen you're right underneath us, so I can see you really clearly. I don't feel any pain. I'm just saying. Dive into the sound, the art of it. It's because it's helped with everything. It helps with the pain of life, with the craziness of this summer. I don't know what I would have been able to do with all the agony we have gone through, not just with COVID, which has been a monstrous thing, and friends dying and passing away, but then watching my people get killed on TV live constantly and coming face to face with the enormity of the amount of hatred that's going around and the division. I don't know what I would have done without having this place to sit down to and pick up a microphone and start singing from my heart. It saves me. It saves my spirit. It saves my sanity. It saves my mind, my soul, my heart. And I want to be able to give that to others. So yes, in that sense, I think that music is really it's a way out. You know, I wrote this song once, and we always hear this from you have to go inside to find a way out. And there's nothing like the sound of a note playing, whether you're playing it, humming it. I love the physical act of singing because you feel it through your being. And yeah, that's my coping mechanism.
Nice.
You know, how the day without a song, the day will never end, you know.
Right. We have a question from Celeste. She would like to hear more about how your mentorship and influence impacted your niece, Annie Clark, otherwise known as Saint.
Proud of her.
Oh, yeah. So
And what's it like seeing her success and thinking about how you may have had an impact on her?
yeah, well, obviously we did. I'm not like
We
we were
tried to
trying
stay
to
out of
train
the
her.
way.
We didn't really mentor her too much, except
When she asked.
when she asked. Yeah, we just had to be available. But we took her on the road with us, starting when she was about 15. She traveled kind of around the world, you know, Japan and went to China together, Europe, yeah, went to Russia. And I never showed her anything on the guitar except when she would ask, which was only one time, really. I mean, we'd talk about music, but it was never like, okay, sit down and, learn this, learn that. There's no need for that because she obviously had a gyroscope spinning inside of her so rapidly and um, so unerringly that all she needed was just encouragement. Uh, she didn't even need that really. She was going to do what she was going to do to become her best version of herself, and
So great.
that's all we wanted for her in the first place. So all the details kind of didn't matter too much, what style of music, any of that. It was just if she could really just be totally herself. But yeah, she went on the road with us a
With
lot.
all
And
of them, with our nieces and nephews, and
Yeah.
a couple of nephews we took out. One we got to leave school and he came out for junior tour manager. And then Rashid, who you met years ago when he came to jazz camp, he's got a studio now and multi-instrumentalist and stuff like that. So with all of them, if they were interested in it, we were there and open with them. But unless they asked, we didn't try to impose our will on them or anything. And so we're very proud of all of them.
in the case of Annie, we as I said, she would go along with us on the road a number of times, but there was always a tour manager, and so she was there pretty much in the role of just have fun, check it out, help the tour manager if he asks you to do anything, and be available, and let's just go have this experience. Then one time it was after high school, I think, before she started going to Berkeley, that
A graduation present.
yeah, she went with us on a 6-week tour, a grueling 6-week tour of Europe. And we arrived in Milan, the first city. And she said, well, where's the tour manager? And we said, oh, we didn't tell you. You're it. You're it this time.
Here's all the paperwork. Please come to the room. Tuck is going to give you the equipment and the schematics about how to put it together.
Make it happen.
We'll see you later.
Good. There's total trial by fire. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. She came out of
You threw her in.
knowing what to do. Yeah, she got the deep end of the pool, and it was great for her.
She said later she's never done a tour that was as difficult as that ever since. But it meant that she wasn't in there with some sort of deluded notion about the glamorous life. She knew all about the details of going there, getting there, the lost luggage, the complete exhaustion from sleep deprivation.
And the magic of no matter what happened, when you walk out on that stage, it's a sacred place, and you give all that up and dive deeply into the thing that you love. So,
and that's exactly what she does. We've seen that.
Great.
Yeah, we're real proud of her.
Well, okay, we have a question from Amy Waldman. You two have a prolific and beloved repertoire. Are there any particular songs that stand out to you as favorites? As a part two to this question, when people make requests that for you that you've never done, do you find that to be more of a fun challenge or a frustrating request?
It's been great during this time, because we're sitting here every Sunday since March last year doing these. So people started making requests, and we make request days, and so I've actually increased our repertoire by a lot.
Yeah, we can thank you for that, Amy.
Amy. Yeah. Remember that movie Two for the Road? So there's a lot of stuff like that we've done, and it's been really great. And Chuck and I, because we're sitting here, we're jammers. So somebody will ask a song and we don't know it, we'll just start playing it. We'll slaughter our way through it. We're game, and this has been really great for that. Sitting here and just playing, and we're not here to. We decided, well, this isn't a show. It's none of that. It's just let's sit on the couch at home and play. And so we're getting a lot of new tunes out of it.
Yeah, and very often not really rehearsed. It's like, let's get a key.
Let's do it.
Okay, that's all you get.
Yeah.
Let's go do
play.
it. And
then some that I really love. Then later on we went back and
out.
started really working out arrangements and stuff. So it's been really cool that way.
Favorites, I think I can speak for both of us in that we've never done a song that we didn't absolutely love in the first place, and that we couldn't both believe in and what it said and how we felt when we were performing it. And therefore that sticks. And so every song is basically our favorite in the moment that we're doing it. And a lot of them are really old friends.
Yeah, It Takes My Breath Away is an old friend.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing about the two of you. I find that there are old friends, and we can't wait to hear them. It brings us back through time. It's like timeless.
Yes, it's wonderful. And we are blessed to be able to love all of them, because we hear from a lot of friends who have songs and hit records and stuff, and they hate their songs. They don't want to play them anymore. We don't have that. It's really great that we don't have that.
Yeah, we're lucky. I mean, we have certain sarcastic, humorous qualities, for both of us, but about the music, there's kind of no cynicism, whatever. We designated the music as a pure sacred space, the best we can make it. It's this little, it's kind of like this little plot of land that we've been entrusted with by God, and we're supposed to take care of it and grow stuff and do our best with that garden. And so we're there to do it with the most loving spirit that we can, because it was loaned to us and it gets taken back later. So we're supposed to take a good job of this. We're not supposed to mess up the thing that we got loaned. So yeah, we're there just to do it as well as we can with as much love and respect and the whole thing as we can. And it's kind of amazing the payoff. I mean, now of course you can always turn anything like that into selfish, and therefore it feels good, right? So now we're having fun doing it. It feels great. We play My Romance one more time. Okay, now what is it? 5, 6, 7,000 times we played it. Well, to us, man, we got to play My Romance one more time.
Oh.
In fact, now that we're not as young as we used to be, we're thinking at the same time, man, we just used up one more of our My Romances. We don't know how many we got, but we just used one up. So, it better be the best thing that ever happened. Let's celebrate. And to me, it's also that way with a person that you love. Going back to your whole idea about, well, how do you deal with it when that other person kind of gets on your nerves? Just imagine that you're right in the middle of your last moment with them and you're not going to see them again.
Oh.
How irritated would you be by whatever it is that's irritating you right now? Well, no, it was entirely endearing. You just didn't realize. So that's kind of how we approach the music, and therefore we have no favorites.
Well, I have a very special question for you now. Would you play something for us, Tuck and Patti?
Absolutely.
We can do that.
Absolutely.
Let's do that.
Thank you so much for this. This has been a great afternoon. I'm trying to scroll the page so I can see as many of you all as I can. The screen's not big enough to see all of you. Luigi's in Chicago.
Sorry,
Kirsten. Oh, my cousin's on there. Yay. Ariana Rose. Good to see you. I'm just seeing your names. I feel like that. I feel like these things sometimes feel like, remember Romper Room, Miss Nancy?
Right.
The teacher, she'd go, I see Brett, and I see Mr. Lee. I see Patty, and I see Luigi. That's great. What do you want to play, Chuck?
I'm going to leave that up to you.
Does anybody have a request? Actually, right now, I know what's on my heart at the moment.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Warriors. That's what's on my heart today. Thank you. Oops.
That's not connected yet.
I know. I'm just getting ready. So everybody take good care of yourselves and, be safe and love your people and tell them how much you love them, and let's stay together and work together, and so that we can see this thing through. Our hearts go out to everybody in India right now, and looking at what's going on in Israel right now, and Palestine, and it's an amazing, unbelievable, unimaginable time we're living through. So keep your head up and your heart open, and we love you guys very much.
Okay, I'm now connecting the music, and we'll just play that tape. We're great at lip syncing. Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
All right, we're in.
Okay, praise God.
Am I in your way?
No, I just don't want to hit you.
Okay.
Good?
Mhm.
Any little thing seems to turn us away. Oh, some say love is not the answer. But for those of us who love, it's time we got together, took a stand, spoke out, and tell everybody, say now, I won't give up, my path is clear. We'll all join hands and we could walk together. I won't give up, my path is clear. Let me take you by your hand and let's walk together. Right now, walking in love. You know me, I'll be walking right beside you. Hear me walking and singing in love. Right now, the choice is getting smaller. You see, our choice is getting smaller. We see those battle lines, yeah, we see them being drawn, and we all realize that the people are taking sides now. And I think it's time we became love warriors. Oh, yes, I do. I'm talking about a real love. If we could get together, we could win this race. But you will have to hang on. You've got to be real strong. Say, I won't give up. My path is clear. We'll all join hands and we can walk together. I won't give up. My path is clear. Gotta all join hands and walk together. Say now, I keep on walking. I'm a love warrior. Say now, I will not turn my back on love, 'cause I'm a love warrior. Yeah, I'm a love warrior. I'm a love warrior. I'm a love warrior. I'm a love warrior. And I think about our precious babies, thinking about our children all over the world right now. Do you hear them crying? Do you hear their sighs? The lonely ones, the hungry ones, helpless ones, the lonely ones. Oh, my people, don't hear them right now. Now open up your heart, my people. Our children realize that they can't live without your love. Oh, yeah. Open up and listen to me now. You can't give up because your path is clear. We got to all join hands. We could walk together. Come on now, don't give up. Your path is clear. Come on and take me by the hand and walk beside me. Say now, I still believe in love. Through everything that's happened, I believe in love, and I'm not ashamed to tell you I believe in love, and I believe in truth, and I believe in peace. I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid. I'm realistic just like you. I know the hate that's going down. I know the pain in my heart. I know the pain that's in your mind. I know the pain that's in my soul. I know the hatred spinning around. People, I don't do it. I don't be ashamed to say that. If you believe in truth, stand up and be counted. Say now, if you believe in hope, stand up and be counted. Say now, if you believe in love, stand up and be counted. Say now, Mr. Sato, Mrs. Sato, hello, how you doing? I still believe in love, my people. Don't you be afraid, my people. Stand up and tell the world about it. Say now, I have given my life to love, and you can do that too. Give your heart, your mind, your soul to love. Don't be afraid. Oh, people, listen to me. You could take me by the hand. Do you realize that we ought to walk together to the promised land? Walk together to the promised land. Oh, come on, They walk together to the promised land. I love warriors. Come on, say, I love warriors. Don't you be afraid, nah, nah. Come on, say, come on now. Yeah, nah, nah, nah. I love warriors. I'm calling you. I love warriors. I'm calling hearts. I love warriors. I'm calling minds. Give it everything now. Got you, God say. But walk down, come on, yeah. Come on, say, I love warriors. Come on, yeah. Come on now. Come on, say, come on, say that. But walk about it, hey, no, we be, hey, the do, the do, the do, the do, we, diddle, the diddle, 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 but we be, do, the do, we be, diddle, diddle, walk about, we be, do, do, we bow. I do, the do, the diddle, 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 we be, it's gonna take all the heart that you got inside of you. Gonna take all the strength deep down inside just to carry you through. It's gonna take all the love that you got stored up inside just to walk this walk together. Say it's gonna take a miracle, and the miracle is you. You're gonna have to shout it out, and if these people know that hatred just won't do, you're gonna have to take a stand. Say if we're gonna see this madness through, it's gonna take all the love inside of you. Oh, emotions flying, ain't no use in crying. Say it's time to face your life. Hey, the truth is waiting. Ain't no use in hesitating. It's time to free your mind and save your life. It's nobody else's. You can be anything that you want to be. Hey, do-do-do-do, it's your time. Why don't you take it? Don't you fade away before you had your say. Cause we share the same hopes. We have the same dreams. We're not as different as we seem. We share the same face. Ooh, we have the same heart. Oh, come together right now in love. Gotta come together, say face to face, cause we all want the same thing, and we're all trying to reach the same place. Our emotions flying, there ain't no use in crying. Say it's time to face your life. Hey, for the truth is waiting. Ain't no use in hesitating. It's time to free your mind and save your life. Come on and save your life. Save your life and nobody else's. You can be anything that you want to be. Hey, it's your time. Why don't you take it? Don't you fade away before you had your say. It's gonna take a miracle. Miracle is you. You're gonna have to shout it out, Matt Jensen, and let the people know that hatred just won't do. You're gonna have to open up and take a stand. If we see this madness through, it's gonna take all the love inside of you. You know and I know that we could all live it together, but we'd have to give all our love. We're giving everything we've got, giving everything we've got. And now, you know and I know that we could all live it together, but you'll have to give all your love. You give it everything, give it every little bit of thing you got. You know and I know that we could all live it together, but you'll have to give all our love.
Woo!
Yay.
Woo! Yeah! Woo!
Thank you. You guys, we love you so much.
We love you too, Tuck and Patti. Thank you so much. That was so beautiful. I needed that today. I think we all need it all the time, but I needed that, and it did exactly what I needed. So,
You know,
so amazing. I just love the two of you so much, and I'm so honored that you've graced our community, that you were willing to share your time with us today. Before I officially say goodbye to you, I want to just let folks know about a couple of things that we have coming up. So besides our youth camp, which will be July 17th through 23rd, we have 4 beds left. That's it in this camp. So if anybody knows a child that could really use this experience, please tell the family about it. We are going to be holding a 3-day music festival. I was telling Tuck and Patti about this earlier because we couldn't do jazz camp in person in time at the end of June. We will be holding a 3-day music festival at Jones Gulch, which is the place that we typically hold the camp, over Labor Day weekend. It will be a 2-night, 3-day event. It will be a series of concerts. There will be open mics, some master classes, but mostly music, and more than anything, a chance for us to come back together in the middle of the Redwoods, see our community, love our friends, and just be together in the way that we know we really want to be again. So I think this is going to be a very big deal for our community, and we're really looking forward to it. And then our next call and response event is Sunday, June 6th, with KPFA's Ricky Vincent, and we're talking to funk legends Greg Arico and Larry Graham from Sly and the Family Stone. They'll be sharing information about their careers and their industry experience. So everybody buy your ticket. We know that's also going to be really popular. And just in the end, all of you guys that came today, thank you so much. We love you. We appreciate you. Tuck and Patti, thank you. Again, you're just incredibly special to us, and it's so meaningful to have you here today and share some of this inner gossip that we wanted to hear about.
It's perfect, Chris. Everybody give as much as you can and tell your friends to do the same thing, and let's keep this supported and keep it going, and take care of each other. This music community is a much needed and a perfect treasure that we all have a responsibility to take care of. So let's do that. Let's do that. Stacy, there are no words to describe the force of nature and beautiful wonder that is you.
That's
For
right.
all that you have done. I do not even begin to understand where you get the energy to do all of the things that you do for the music community, activism, and the children, folks, musicians, caring for people, being involved on the front line all the time for 38 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Teaching people how to get over
How to
stage
get over
fright.
stage fright, how to get along together, bringing in the next generation of young folks that have compassion and sense of kindness and belonging and village and family. It's amazing.
Well, thank you. Well,
Thank
do
you.
it because of people like you, quite frankly. It's what's fueled me. Honestly, I'm not just saying that. I mean, my love for music is so profound. And when I'm able to bring that experience to others, it just, that's what I'm on the planet for, to make other people happy through music. And so I've been blessed to have decades of that opportunity and bring people like you into our fold. So thank you again. Thank you for everybody that's come to our event today.